Hello there, I'm Nathalia Melo, your unfiltered fit BFF. Mom of two turned CEO of a fitness empire. Someone who truly understands the struggles of trying to stay fit, sane, and sexy, all while juggling work, life, and motherhood. And this is the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. Follow along wherever you're listening and join me weekly as I help busy working moms just like you simplify your fitness journey so you can lose fat, regain your confidence, and feel sexy AF. It's time to stop living in the what ifs and hiding from the cameras. It's time to regain control over your body, feel sexy naked, and wear a bikini confidently. People already see you as a super confident woman, but it's time for you to feel the same way too. Come on, let's go. Hello there, fam. Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. I'm Nathalia Melo, your host, and today I have an incredible friend. She started as a client, but she's now become a friend, and we've worked together for many years on and off. And today she's going to be sharing her journey, which I think is going to be very important for anybody here to hear who is contemplating plastic surgery. And listen, before we even start talking about it, big fan of plastic surgery. I will always encourage people to have them. I have a full podcast with my plastic surgeon talking about my experience, but I think that this conversation with Margot is going to be incredible because she's going to give a different perspective. So Margot, welcome to the jungle. Just kidding. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm a longtime listener, a longtime fan of yours. And so, yeah, it is funny how we become friends. And it's just kind of like, oh, like you're texting me right now. So we're like text. And someone actually asked me once, they were like, how does it feel to be friends with Nathalia? And I was like, wait, why? Is there something wrong with her? Like, do I need to know something? And it was just like, no, she's just like, so many people know her. And, you know, she has like such a huge following. And I was like, she's just a regular person. Like, I don't understand what the deal is.
Oh, girl, we're just texting the tea.
I know. Who else am I supposed to talk to about Karen Reed? You know what I mean? Like, what the heck?
I love that. And you know what is cool is that whenever we go back, whenever I say that it's been many years, I've seen you have like 2 or 3 of your 3 kids.
Yeah, 2 of my kids, 2 of my 3 kids. Yes.
So, you know, it's been a minute.
Yeah. So I contacted you. So I don't know, what year did you start your program? Because if I had to guess, I would say it was 2017 into 2018, because I was super pregnant with my second baby when I reached out to you, and I was kind of like, hey, I want to start your program. This is when you were doing the Mother Strong League. And I was like, I'm going to start it like the day after I leave the hospital, or the day I leave the hospital. Remember?
I remember the conversation so vividly. It's so weird because I remember you text me, you're like, I'm still pregnant, but I need help for whenever I'm not pregnant anymore. And I was like, oh, and I think you signed up for the program while I was still very pregnant, literally starts like the second you walked out of the hospital, because we had the whole rehab part of the process and all that.
Yep. And it was super helpful. So I had 3 C-sections. So before that, I had my first C-section that was not, you know, of course, it's not by choice, but it was like my baby was breached. And then what really got me to your program was that you were a 2-time C-section mom. And you were talking about like, hey, we have to build up your core. You would always preface this with like, I'm not a doctor, but you can start working on your core like the minute you walk out of the hospital, or actually while you're in the hospital. And that was so encouraging to me. And by the way, I don't think I've ever told you this, but I always say that my second baby was like going into the mall to like pick out my baby, because I like literally walked in, scheduled like my first one, my water broke.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I
just like
loved
walked
it.
in with my bag packed, you know, walked out with a baby. Like it was like nothing crazy. Like they just hooked me up and I just had a baby. But with her, I know, right? With
just
her,
came back home with a baby.
They give you those little pushing cradles or whatever they are. And with her, because of being encouraged by you and being already like a part of the program, I don't think it was the first day, but the second day, I was already up and it sucked. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And I was pushing her like around the hospital, around the nurses station. And they were like looking at me because they actually said, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm walking because I want to like get moving. And they were like, that's interesting because we always encourage women to do this, but no one ever does it. So now we're like in shock. And so like I was counting the laps, and just like the first day or the first, you know, time I did it, it was like 1 lap. And then after that, for my second baby, my transition was so much easier. And by the way, and we haven't talked about this yet, but I used to be a competitor as well. I didn't reach the heights that you did in your competitions, but I had found out I was pregnant at nationals in 2015. And so I went from like the best physique of my life. And I was about 175 pounds when I walked into the hospital with my first baby. I lost 25 pounds of that, but I stuck around like 150. And then when I got pregnant with my second, I walked into the hospital, I was 200 pounds. And so that's why I remember very vividly being like, I need to lose more than just like the 25 pounds that you kind of lose as soon as you walk out of the hospital kind of. And that was my mentality going in. And so I remember with Mother Strong League, even though that was like your beginner program, that was like phenomenal for me. And I was like running, I think within 6 months, I ran a 10K and then a 10 miler. And so it was awesome.
No, I love that. And that was like the early beginnings of, you know, like I had been doing coaching for a zillion years before that. But that's kind of when I went more into the online space, because a lot of that I was doing before was more in person. I did a lot of one-on-one coaching and things like that in person, like personal training, and which I actually am very happy that I did that, because it gives me the eyeballs, like the eyes. If we're working with someone now and I'm like, hey, send us a video, I'm able to give feedback because I have worked with people like hands-on, and it requires a different set of eyes to see things like that.
Right.
And then you had your second child. We were not working together when you had your second child. And then some time passed. And then you're like, girl, hello, hi, I'm back.
Oh, yeah. So I'm pretty sure I stuck with the Mother Strong League for like a year. But then right after that, you know, COVID. So COVID happened and I was like, I'm going to get a Peloton. I'm going to use it every day. And no, I didn't use it every day. It was like this whole, you know.
Narrator voice. In fact, she did not use the Peloton every day, as she said.
Oh my goodness. I didn't use it often, but you know, I mean, the Peloton isn't going to fix it all. And I actually got lucky because listen, Peloton got really big. So we ordered the Peloton, no kidding, like 2 weeks before the world shut down.
Shut up.
No. So we got ours delivered like right after COVID was announced or whatever. And like they did the delivery. But then after that, the Peloton was so hard to get. Like they were like backlogged because everyone wanted one because they weren't going anywhere.
That is crazy. So you got the Peloton and then you stayed home. And then when did you have your daughter, your third daughter, and when did you reach out to me again?
Okay. So I had my third daughter a year and a half after COVID started. So the summer of 21. And so for her, I walked into the hospital. I can't recall if I was 205 pounds or 210 pounds. So I had even gained even more because I had gotten down to about 142 by the time I was working with you. But then COVID happened and we were just whatever. So I reached out to you.
Let's all be fat and sassy at home.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like I really need to get my life straight because I just feel like I get on the train and then I get off the train and then I get on the train and then I get off the train. But this is why your newer program is with the mindset. So we can get into that in a little bit. But I reached out to you again and you were now doing, I think you had
the Powerhouse Academy.
You were doing like the initial I don't even think that was the name of it.
Yeah.
Something.
It was like, the very beginning of the Powerhouse Academy as
you were doing one-on-one coaching for the Mother Strong League. So you were getting clients one-on-one. Is that right?
Yeah, because what I started to see is that I like the personalization in relationships. I like to know what is going on in people's lives. Like I want to know what's happening with you. And I want to know, like, your son is getting married. Great. And I found that with that format of the Mother Strong League, I didn't have that. And I feel like there is something that misses from the whole thing, from not having that human interaction and that human contact and that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's when I started doing the more 101.
Yeah. And I remember with the Mother Strong League, you had the Facebook page. Whenever we wanted to reach out to you, it was like we would put something on the Facebook page and then we had everybody and their mother commenting. And I was like, I don't care what you guys think. I want to know what Nathalia thinks. Oh my God. Like, for real. I seriously just was like, I'm not even going to post on here anymore because I was, you know, and I feel like as women, especially, but then when you're in the fitness world, you have these questions. Now, a generalized question is one thing. But for example, today I reached out to Jen specifically about a question with regards to my workout plan. And she responded to me right away. And so if I would have put that in the Facebook page back in the day, people would have been like guesstimating, oh, she probably meant this. And I'm like, I want to know. So yes, 100%.
But that's kind of why I changed. And listen, there was value in that. But I think you just know how to improve something when you start somewhere. And that's how we got to the Powerhouse Academy, how it is now. Because whenever I start working with one-on-one with people, I was like, oh, everybody's struggling with the same shit I was struggling, that lives rent free in my brain, like the
Right.
extreme mentality, the all or nothing, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, but that is completely outside my scope. And you, as an attorney, you know how important that is. I'm like, I am not getting to the mental health, disordered eating behaviors, history
Yes.
of eating disorder. I am not going there. So that's how kind of Jen came into the picture, because she is a licensed counselor who is specialized in that. So that's how we got here.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I ended up reaching out to you again in, I don't remember if it was 21. I think it was 21.
I'm
It
trying
was
to
like,
look. That's, if you see my eyeballs moving, that's kind of why. I
it
think it
would have
was in
been
2021.
okay. So it was after my third baby. And then by that point, I was like, oh my gosh. And it was probably early on because I recently, I don't, sometimes, you know that you can search your pictures now. So if you like put a word in, and sometimes you'll search for something, like, I'm pretty sure I searched for like some random word, popcorn or something. And all of these flashback pictures that didn't have anything to do with popcorn showed up. And that's how I found that one picture we were talking about earlier today. So yeah, so it was early on. It was probably that summer. And I reached out to you and I was like, hey, I want a plan, like a postpartum, post C-section plan. And so we ended up doing it. And so now you were doing more of like the one-on-one coaching. And then I remember Jen being all up in my chili, like, what's going on? What's going on? And then at one point, like I legitimately just ghosted you guys. I was like, no, I was going through a lot. You know, I just separated from the military. Within a year of separating from the military, my spouse at the time ended up deploying. And so it was just a lot. It was like very mentally draining on me. And you don't really think about that. But now when I look at pictures back then, I don't even recognize the woman that I see in those pictures because I'm like, oh my, I don't
Which
even
let me,
remember
can I
that
ask you a
moment.
question? Can I ask you a question? Because now I think you are seeing the Powerhouse Academy as is. Do you think, and listen, guys, I'm like winging it here. I have no idea what her answer is going to be. But do you think that you coiling and walking away, oh, everything is very overwhelming and busy? Do you think that if you were now with the structure that we have now, you'd have actually helped you rather than made you go backwards? Do you understand my question?
I do understand your question. Your structure now is different because before I think you just had Jen. Now you have Kara and you have Sonia and you have a whole bunch of
Yeah.
other folks. I would say I'm not sure, but what I do know is that because since then I've been divorced, I'm in therapy, I feel like I am more mentally prepared and ready to answer those questions. Because even Jen now, and you can ask Jen, I mean, sometimes she'll ask me a question and I'm like, I'm not going to answer that. And I just won't. And 3 weeks later, she'll be like, I want to get back to this question I asked you that you never answered. And I'm like, okay, fine. So you know what
Okay,
I mean?
so you
Does that
was
make
more
sense?
like yeah, so it was more you, I don't know, maybe feeling ashamed, overwhelmed, not knowing how to navigate everything, and then you ghosted us because you didn't know how to answer the hard questions, which ultimately for long-term success, we need to answer the hard questions. So do you think
Yes.
that's what happened?
Yes, ish. I think I had so many other big things going on. And you talk about this all the time how moms do this. They'll put their fitness, they'll put their health on the back burner. And for me, that's what I did. For me, if I need to remove something from my brain and really at this point just suck it up, I'm just going to remove this aspect of like having to focus on eating better, on making better choices, et cetera, et cetera. And it wasn't until, like I said, after lots of therapy, and now I'm the mom of three little girls. And so as they get older, I realize that I am their
The
role
example.
model. Like I am their example. And so I am like, oh no. Oh no, we are not going to do this. You know, we've had discussions, you and I, our relationships with our bodies and our mom's relationships with their bodies. And so that is why I always run back. But this go around, I can see myself more clearly. I feel like I am more present.
Yeah.
But of course, whatever mental struggles you have, if you don't fully work through those, which I am still working through those, but if you don't fully work through those, you'll always run back to what you were doing before.
Can I add something, Margot? Because I think that the biggest problem I find is that, for example, women tend to do what you did, but then whenever they realize, they find themselves in a much worse place. And
Mhm.
then it's kind of like, holy fuck, like, where do I even go from here? Because you find yourself in a place that it's literally completely unknown. You're living in a body that you don't know. And it feels even harder to even ask for help, because then now we have the layer of shame.
Yes. Yes.
Does that resonate? And I don't like to live in a world where it's like could have, would have, should have, like I would have, like, but I'm going to ask you, do you think that had you continued to take care of yourself at whatever capacity, that things could have been different, whatever the different is, things could have been more positive had you intentionally, maybe you didn't have an hour to train, you had 15 minutes, but you made the intentional 15 minutes commitment to yourself.
Any amount of anything is better than nothing, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Even 1 or 2 steps forward is better than just staying stagnant. So now I realize that. And the thing with me is, and you've known this, but I've always had, especially post-COVID, it was actually when COVID happened that I started building my own arsenal, like my gym at home. I had that, I had a rower, I had a treadmill. So you just add all these things, but without structure, it doesn't matter. You can literally, you've seen my gym. I freaking use it because I put a lot of money into that. And now I'm with you guys, so I love it. But there's so many people that you go to their houses and they have treadmills and they have Pelotons and they literally just have clothes hanging on top of them. Like, what is that? What are you doing?
Or alternatively, they have all this stuff, but then they're just doing stuff. Like there is no rhyme and reason to what is going on. It's just, oh my God, I'm riding my Peloton and nothing is happening. And I'm like, yeah, because like the Peloton, it's great. I have one too. But without all the other moving pieces of the puzzle, it's like trying to make a cake just with eggs. The Peloton is just that one ingredient. It's not the whole cake.
Yes, definitely.
So now let's start to get into, and just for context, guys, like Margot also has a very, at the time when all of that was going on, she had a very demanding career. Is it okay if I mention?
Yeah.
She is, or was, I don't know what is they standing now, but an attorney for the Air Force. Her former spouse was also in the military. So you have 2 parents in the military with very demanding careers. And are you now you're still somewhat in the military, or
yeah,
like
so I'm a reservist now. So I went from active duty. I had been active duty for 11 years and then I transitioned to the reserve. And so there's so many aspects of my life where it almost seems like, you know, as you transition in life, you feel like you're losing the old version of you. And so if you've never served in the military, it's hard to realize why it would be difficult to leave that life of like fully having someone tell you what to do all the time. And I was one of the ones that I was like, I want to get out. I mean, I basically have been wanting to get out of the military since I joined. And then, I'm like the worst. I was going to do my 4 years and get out. And here I am 15 and a half years later. But once I did transition out, I felt like really lost. Even though I was still married to the military because my spouse at the time was still in, I really did feel lost. And to be honest with you, if I had still been active duty when I had my 3rd baby, it probably would have been more encouraging for me to lose the baby weight because I'd want to fit into my uniform again. But not having that as, I could always wear sweatpants.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different.
It's funny that you're saying that you felt lost. It's what I noticed with Roger retiring from professional sports, because whenever you're playing, like I remember looking at his schedule, and I kid you not, I don't know if anybody here has ever looked at the schedule of a professional athlete. They literally tell them what color socks to wear for each day of the week. That is how regimented it is.
Yeah.
So I think that like I have a feeling that the military is not too far off of that. And then whenever you don't have anybody telling you what to do, and then it's, oh my God, then I can do everything, whatever I want now. And then you're like, but what is it that I do want to do?
Girl, and you know this because we just had a conversation not too long ago where I still struggle with what do I do with my day? And so for those of you wondering, I do have a job. I work from home though. So I could literally work at 3 o'clock in the morning if I really felt like it. Not that I ever feel like working at 3 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, it is way different when you're controlling your own schedule than when someone else is controlling your schedule for you.
Yeah. So now let's get back to the part where you had your daughter, things start to get messy, and then you withdrew and you're like, okay, I'm out, bye. And then a whole bunch of stuff happened in your life, and then you gained the weight, and then you decided that you were going to have a mommy makeover.
Yeah. So basically what happened was once I basically left the program, And the way I left, I don't ever want to do that again. If I'm not going to sign up again, then I would just be like, hey, I'm going to, you guys have taught me so much, which is the goal, right? The goal is for you guys to teach us and for us to be able to survive on our own in the wild, right? Okay. In the wild. What happened was I ended up losing a significant amount of weight. And I wouldn't say it was necessarily in a healthy way.
After the program, like just to be clear, after the program, she lost the unhealthy amount of weight, just to be clear.
Yes. And so I basically didn't even mean to lose the weight. It was just, I was so stressed. I was so depressed. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with my life? And so that was when I was going through a divorce. And then I got to a point where I was being a little bit more healthy and I was maintaining the weight loss that I had lost unhealthily. So I was maintaining it. And I remember thinking about, so I'm Colombian, you're Brazilian, right? Yeah. Colombian culture, you're going to get some sort of plastic surgery. And I am also all for plastic surgery, by the way.
Oh, like give me them all.
Tug. I'm like, what are we, in the future, are we going to have to like pull this back? What are we going to do? Okay, I got you. But so I remember looking into it, and originally my family was like, oh, you should go to Colombia. And so then I was kind of like, yeah, I'm not, I mean, there's nothing wrong about Colombia, but I wanted to do it from like, hey, I want to do this at home. I want to do this. I don't care if it's going to cost me
my
money.
house. I like my house. I want to be home.
Well, yeah, I mean, and then when you think about the cost savings potentially, by the way, Colombia is getting really expensive when it comes to plastic surgery. It's almost the same price as here. I was like, what the hell?
Same in Brazil.
You have to also take into account like having someone drive you around, staying in a place, doing all this, and you can't fly back within, you still have to stay there for 3 or 4 weeks. So for me, I went around, I started searching for plastic surgeons. So I ended up getting a plastic surgeon or getting a mommy makeover for me. And a mommy makeover can include, I know that you've talked about this before, but it can include a whole bunch of things. And so for me, I had fake tatas that I was going to replace.
Fake tatas.
Titties! Oh my gosh, it was wild. I was like, okay, I'm going to get these replaced because mind you, I had just like you, I had my implants in before I had kids, but then I breastfed all my kids. And girl, no one ever tells you that just because you have fake tatas does not mean that the skin around it is going to sag to your freaking waist. Like, it was crazy. So it was funny, right? I had these giant boobs and then the skin would hang under. Girl, Girl, it was not good. It was not a good sight. But anyway, and my story is dynamic, right? Because I remember being like, oh, I'm going to replace my boobs and I may even go bigger. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. So I go to this first surgeon here in Orlando and I present my little card. This is like so not even part of our story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. I present my little implant card, right? And so I present the card to her and she's kind of looking at it. She goes, oh, she's telling me about the whole thing. And then she goes, oh, okay. She goes, well, you know that your implants have been recalled, right? So mind you, I'm sitting there just like super excited, like, oh my gosh. Like, and then she goes, your implants were recalled. And I was like, really? And then I was like, why? She goes, oh, there was like just this. She's like, anyway, well, you're going to get them replaced anyway. So she tried to downplay the whole thing, right? So I'm talking to her, and so I'm like, okay, whatever. She's telling me whatever. Okay. So I get to my car. I don't even care about the freaking tummy tuck anymore. I'm like, what the hell is going on with these implants? So I Google it, and there's a freaking lawsuit that began in like 2019 because I had textured implants, and apparently they were causing some form of like rare breast cancer in women.
Holy shit.
There's this whole lawsuit going on, and so I am like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? So I start looking into it. And originally I was going in with the idea of getting them replaced. But then after I started thinking about it, I was like, you know what? I don't even know. Like, maybe I'll just get them out and like suck it up. Like, I'll just be like, get a lift because that's what I thought I was going to need. So anyway, so I ended up going to another doctor, the doctor that I really, really wanted to go to. And he was like, yeah. And he doesn't do a lift. He doesn't like to do a lift and a tummy tuck at the same time. And I remember being like, this guy is such a whack job. It's so funny because I ended up going with him, which I loved him, by the way. And actually, you said when you saw my belly button, you were like, that is like an amazing job.
Like the belly button on tummy tucks is the first thing that you see. I saw the video. I'm like, holy shit, that looks like you cannot tell at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So long story short, I ended up going with my doctor here in Orlando, and the plan was to get the tummy tuck, get the implants removed, and then come back in a couple of months to do the breast lift. And that's what we ended up doing. And I also got like lipo 360, but you can't really do lipo. So I think he did lipo in the back. I'm not even 100% sure. I know that sounds terrible, but the whole thing is that after my surgery,
like, make me look hot. The end.
Oh, you know what's funny? For women like us who have competed, there's a lot of people that go into a plastic surgeon's office and they'll show like Kardashian's body or like Jennifer Lopez, and they'll be like, this is what I want to look like. Like I pulled up a picture of me in 2015 and I was like, this is what I want to look like. Like take me back to me, right? And so it was awesome. And he was like, wow, that's cool that you have a picture of yourself and you just want to go back to that. And so I had the surgery. It was awesome. I had someone stay with me for 2 weeks and she was amazing. I was doing the same kind of thing that you had already taught me because I've learned so much from your program with regards to like, it doesn't matter that you just had surgery. Like you get up and move. You're not pushing your body to the limit, but you're moving and you're teaching your body how to do that. So by that point, when I went in for my surgery, I was about 148 pounds and I had gotten down just because no one wants to eat after surgery. So I was eating very little. So by the time like I was like a month post-op, I was about 138, maybe 137 pounds. And so I remember feeling like I was on top of the world.
Like,
I was like,
bitch,
what? I am back. This is amazing. Like, blah, 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 blah. I was like, girl, yeah. I got back into the gym and I was like doing my thing. And then this was in the summer of 2024. And then the fall hit. Kids are back at school. Life is hectic. And it was just go. And I don't even know what exactly happened, but I did the same thing that I always do. I put fitness to the back burner. I was like, well, I don't really have to work out today. And I don't have to work out today turned into I don't have to work out for a month, turned into, oh my gosh. And then it was Christmas time. My kids were with their dad. I went home for the holidays. I was literally eating all the buñuelos in the world. Buñuelos are these like a Colombian pastry. They're not pastries. They're like just balls of dough. I could eat like 5 of those. Yeah. Oh, they're so good, girl. You could put them in coffee. It was nuts. So I was just doing whatever the hell I wanted. Didn't even think about it, to be honest. And no kidding, in January, I come home and I'm like, something doesn't feel right. Like I remember feeling so great. And now when I say heavy, I don't mean heavy. Like I just felt like my body was sluggish.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was like, what the heck is going on? So I go on my military tour for 2 weeks. I put on my uniform and I was like, this uniform is feeling a little snug. Like, I don't know what's going on.
It's the dryer. It's the dryer.
It's the dryer. I was like, what the hell's going on with all this clothes? I don't know. I don't understand what's going on. Right. Because mind you, it was just 6 months earlier. I was in the best shape of my post mommy life. I had not been in that great of a shape, I felt like, since having children. So I remember that at the end of mid-January, I've always followed you and you were like, hey, I'm doing the whatever Powerhouse Academy. And so I was like, hey, and then I literally texted you. I'm pretty sure I texted or I messaged you. Oh no, I sent you an Instagram message and then you.
No, you was Facebook message and I was driving my kids to school. It was about 7:45 in the morning. I remember.
Oh my gosh. And I was like, I need your help. You were like, do you have 15 minutes later? And I was like, oh my God. She's like, no joke. I mean, and it was awesome. I mean, and it was something that I definitely needed in that moment. And so I remember that day we got on a phone call and I was like, okay, cool. And the funny thing is, like, I think you had even asked me, like, after I signed up with you for your program, your newer program, right? There was like a spreadsheet that was like, how much do you weigh and all this other stuff. And I had just kind of like wung it. I just put whatever I thought. And then because I was at the military base, I went and did one of those like body fat tests where they actually give you like your actual weight in your test. And I was actually like 5 pounds heavier than I said in the sheet because I just had not realized how bad it had gotten. And so I remember you telling me like, hey, listen, like, even though you backtracked, like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be a little bit at a time because, and you and I and Jen have always talked about we can't be too aggressive with you because with me particularly, because if I lose weight aggressively, then it's almost like this like mental block where I'm like, I can eat whatever I want or I can do whatever I want. Whereas if I'm consciously thinking about what I'm actually putting in my mouth, it's not as quick and it's more maintainable.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that we talked about, and I think that's the big lesson here, is that we are in the same Facebook groups because I see you there sometimes too, or for plastic surgery and stuff like that. And you have all these women. Guys, plastic surgery is expensive. A mummy makeover, if I'm not mistaken, you're looking at what, like $20,000, $25,000, like thereabouts, like between 20. And you have all these people that go and pay $20,000, $30,000 on a surgery that they think that is going to solve all the problems. But if you're not changing the habits, if you're not
Right.
changing your relationship with food, if you're not changing, that all or nothing mentality, go big or go home or go hard, you're going to go back to square one. But then you're just going to end up like a busted can of biscuit because you
Yep.
had the liposuction in your midsection and then everything busts to the top, everything busts to the bottom, and then you just look weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you may have been the first person I ever heard that saying from, the busted can of biscuits. Is
Yeah, busted can of biscuits.
So you like open the thing and then you like hit it and then all
Yeah.
pops out. That's what you mean, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's true. When you post this, definitely post my like picture when I started with you this year, which was early February to now. Even I have a hard time looking at that picture in February and being like, in my mind, I didn't even feel like I had looked like that. But yeah, it was getting there where it was kind of like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? Because 1 pound turns into 2 pounds, turns into 3 pounds. And it really just adds up. And you're right. So we are in the safe Facebook groups and the women in there who go in and they just feel like, I always think it's interesting, right? Because I was not expecting an overnight transformation and it wasn't overnight for me. Yeah, he did the surgery. But the recovery after that, like the first 2 months was very difficult. But you have people who are like, getting tummy tucks and then they're like, how soon am I going to feel better, because I have a cruise scheduled for 3 weeks after my mommy makeover and I want to drink and I want to do this. And I'm like, first of all, one of the things I gave up now, and I gave this up actually a year before my tummy tuck, was I gave up alcohol because for me, alcohol was like a gateway drug to like binge eating.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, listen, I binge eating is what I struggle with, just, and when I say binge eating, I'm no kidding, like just shoving food in my face until I'm full.
I appreciate that you're saying this because that's the thing that I was trying to remember when we first talked about that. I even used the analogy of, is the same feeling as after you compete. You compete, you look great, and you're like, it's late queen. And then you just go on that deep end, eating for a family of 27. And then it feels like it just happened overnight, but it hasn't happened overnight. The weight hasn't piled on overnight. It's just that you have been, not behaving or not acting in a way that is aligned with what your goals are. But just because you looked that way, you're like, oh, I can do whatever I want now. And then 2 pounds become 4, 4 becomes 6, 6 become 10. And then next thing you know, you're like so far from what you know yourself as.
Yeah. And you said something, you've said it before, you said it recently, and you've said it more than once. And it really stuck with me. And it's probably from one of your sessions with the Powerhouse Academy. But you've said it here. I think you said it on social as well. But it's like the number one thing you tell people or that you do for yourself is, if you have one bad day, like never let it be more than 2. And so that really has helped me. And you can ask Jen, because I am not perfect. I mean, I sit in front of you right now like an imperfect Powerhouse Academy member, which I'm sure everyone is.
I know, we were just having a chat. I know.
Yes.
I know.
I was just getting scolded, or no, not scolded, but you know what I mean? Like, talking to, because I need it. And that's
You're
why
being coached.
That's why I hired you. I was just about to say, I'm like, that's exactly why I hired you. It's like, hey, listen, if I thought I was perfect, I wouldn't need a coach. So the 2 days thing has really stuck with me, because I'm not saying that it's always Saturday and Sunday, but maybe it's always Saturday and Sunday.
Hey, listen, I'm here for the honesty.
It could be a Thursday and a Friday, but the whole point is, if you fall off because you either had an extra whatever it is, or you didn't calculate properly, or whatever it is, always try and go back to the starting line, and that's okay. I'm going to tell you this, it'll be straight up, but I use ChatGPT, and sometimes I'll be like, ChatGPT, I feel like I gained 4 pounds. The scale says I gained 4 pounds. And no kidding, ChatGPT is like, it's like a mini you. It's like, you have not actually gained 4 pounds. It is a whole bunch of water weight. Drink lots of water, stick to your calories, and do your workout. And it actually says, don't overdo it. Like, if you have 20 minutes on your plan, it says, don't do 40 because you think you're going to outrun it. It's like, just stay consistent for the next few days and you'll be fine. And so I'm like, okay.
Oh, she's scraping here. She's be chatting with my ChatGPT, which it's funny, not funny, because, for example, from competing, there are those tendencies for binge eating, which that's what we have been working on to see what the triggers are. And that is the piece of the puzzle that I find that a lot of people are missing whenever they're like just going from program to program, thinking that it's just, oh, I just need somebody to tell me what to eat and how to exercise. If you were just about learning how to eat and learning how to exercise, you could go to ChatGPT and ChatGPT would tell you what to do. But there is a lot more to it that, like I was saying, that we were working with you now, chatting with Jen and things like that, that ChatGPT is not going to do for you. And that getting a surgery is not going to fix.
And that's what people think. I feel like a lot of people in the Facebook groups of the plastic surgeons are like, oh, we're going to spend all this money and everything's going to be fine. And then they come back months later and they're like, oh, how about this? They get their tummy tuck and they'll be like, 6 months later, they're like, oh, I feel like I need liposuction now. And I'm just like, oh. And listen, not for nothing, but sometimes the idea seems, oh, maybe, but liposuction, it sucks.
Here's the part that pisses me off, because these are the same folks that if they schedule a call with me and we talk about the program, they will absolutely lose their brain because, oh my goodness, I would never pay for anything like that for a fitness program. And I'm like, so you're getting 30K and then you're throwing in the fire and you're learning absolutely fuck off from it.
Yep.
And then you gain all the way back and you go back to square one. And is that worth it? Wouldn't it be much better? And that's actually something that I spoke to with my plastic surgeon, because we talked about something like this. And she was like, oh, if somebody comes into my office and I know that they're eating, like I can tell that their eating is all over the shop, I will tell them to sort out their lifestyle first and then come back to me.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I agree. And what plastic surgery won't do for you, for example, like I can only speak to myself in the last 6 months since I've been working with you, but is like how much your body changes and your muscles are growing and everything is working better and you don't realize it. So last weekend, I did 2 things that I haven't done in a very long time. And one was yoga. I haven't done yoga in a long time. And so I go into yoga and I'm like, oh my God, because it's like one of those, it was like a mental thing. I know I look great, but I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go into yoga and I'm probably going to be like, everyone's going to be like super skinny. And I've never really ever been like super skinny, but I just had this weird like conversation in my head. And so then I get in there and I'm like, oh, these people are going to be all flexible. And guess what? I was the most flexible person there. And I had no idea that I could even move like that. And then one of the yoga moves actually is now in my plan this week. And I was like, was Jen watching me? Was she watching me at yoga? Because it was like one of these yoga moves. And so that was awesome. And then the very next day I went rock climbing and I got up that wall like a spider monkey, and I was like, wow. I was with my friend and she said, oh my God, like your arms, like, how are you going? Oh my gosh, are your arms tired? And I got to the bottom and I was like, no, not really. Like, I'm not tired really at all. Like, I mean, yeah, I did stretch because I had to like stretch my leg to get to the one rock. But I was just like, wow. I was like, in 6 months, and I'm 41 now. Like, I feel like I'm 36 again, 35 again, even younger. But I don't want to like.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing. You look younger, by the way. I saw that you were 41 and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know that. Anyway, I knew because I knew your date of birth, but I never put 2 and 2 together. But I think that that feeling right there, that I love that you say plastic surgery won't give you this. And that's exactly it, because I'm going to ask you, do you think that Margot, from after you had your 3rd child and the way that you were feeling, that you would be doing stuff like this with your kids? Hey, let's go rock climbing. Let's go do all this kind of stuff. Do you think you would have done it?
No, not like the immediate postpartum, like when I showed you that picture earlier today. No, like I would not have done that.
But even if you had stayed on that path, you know what I'm saying? If you had continued on that path, no. If you had continued on the path of, I like to call the path of destruction, where you're just like putting everybody before you and everything before you, and that you don't do something to change. You just go, I'm going to wait for the perfect time because life is busy now and I'm feeling overwhelmed. And then there is always like that waiting for the perfect time. Do you think that if you had continued to wait for the perfect time, that you would be in a position to do the things that you're able to do now with your kids?
No. And what's amazing, we talked about role models before, right? We talked about role models. And it's amazing to me, and I think my kids are a little bit privileged because not everyone has the privilege of living in a house with a gym, right?
Yeah.
But my kids are. But even before then, when I had a smaller gym, like my kids will see a weight and they'll pick it up and they are like legit working out. Like they know how to use it. They're not just like flinging it and throwing it and doing all this other stuff. Like they know. Like my one daughter is on the track team and she's like the star of the team.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? And I am my oldest. And I am just always so amazed. And they'll get on my little 4-year-old will get on the elliptical, for no kidding, 10 minutes. I won't turn it on, but she is just
Yeah.
moving her legs. And you know what? She learned that because whenever I'm on a machine, I will tell her, like, I got 10 minutes to be on this machine. I'm not going to get off. So you're going to have to figure whatever you're trying to ask me to do out on your own. And like, they realize, like, hey, the machine is not only to be on for 2 minutes and you just get tired, you get off. Like, you get on there and you work, and then they'll come out and then they're like looking at their muscles, and it's all this stuff. And they each only have 1 or 2 workout outfits that are like a little sports bra and sports pants. But whenever they say they're going to work out, they go and they pick their workout outfit. They are not coming in a dress.
Oh
They are
my
not
God, I
coming
love
in
this
any
so
of that.
much.
Yes, sports bra and their shorts, and they are ready. And so like, even when I made my gym, when I finalized it, everyone has their own pair of sneakers that are only meant for the home gym. We don't wear these outside. We don't wear these anywhere. Like, they're just for the home gym. So they'll come in and they'll be like, all right, we need to put our home gym sneakers on. And you know, that for me is like, and that is new in the last 5 months, because before, when I used to work out, even before then, it was always, I felt so stressed out and I was like, this is my time. Like, you girls can't be in here, leave me alone. And now whenever they wake up in the middle of my workout, I'm like, all right, you can come into work, you can come into the gym and you can work out with me, or you know, do whatever it is that you want to do. And they always choose working out.
Do you think that is happening because there is more clarity on what you're doing? Because whenever you have no idea what you're doing, not that you don't know how to work out, but there is no rhyme or reason to what is being done, you already feel a bit on edge. And then you add the kids on top of it. It's like, fuck, I like that kind of stuff. But now, because you know that what you're doing is going to take you from A to B, it's kind of like, oh, if they're here, I'm still going to get from A to B.
Yes. And then something else that the program has taught me is, if you can't get the entire workout out, and back in the day, that would have crushed my soul. If I had 1 or 2 more reps to go and I didn't get it done, it would ruin my whole day. Now, if it just happens that, I don't know, I got distracted or I'm working and then I have like a podcast episode that didn't get posted correctly and I have to leave the gym, I'm just kind of like, okay, I have to leave the gym and it's not the end of the world because I didn't get that last 2 or 3 reps in. And so then I leave. And so that's also like a new mindset. Even with your program, you have evolved as well in your program, right? I remember when I was doing the Mother Strong League, and I don't know that they were supposed to. I always take longer than I'm supposed to with my workouts. But back then, it would take me like 45 minutes to get a workout in. Yeah. And so now with the workouts, at least the ones that Jen has me on, it'll be like 21 minutes. And so for me, my goal is to finish in 21 minutes. I never get there because I always take longer, but that's also really nice.
But do you remember what I was saying, you know, about the knowing who the person that we're helping is, which whenever you have that one too many format, you have to streamline things in a way that work for some, don't work for others. And that's what I started to notice, because if we have someone who all they have is 20 minutes, that 45-minute workout's worth nothing.
No,
because
all they got them out.
And that's kind of where I started to feel bad, because I got into this because I truly wanted to help people. But then I created this beautiful thing that was all said and done and beautiful. And then I had these women coming to me and they're like, but I don't have this amount of time. And this person had an hour, that person had 20 minutes, this person had 15, that other one had 45. The person who didn't have the 45 minutes would fall off because she's like, oh, I cannot even do the whole thing. And that's also one of the reasons where we start to do things the way that we do with the Powerhouse Academy, because everybody's going to be different. Their priorities are going to be different. Their availability of time is going to be different. But you mentioned podcast episode because we mentioned that you are like an attorney and that now you are working from home, because I do think, Margot, that your story is also very inspiring, because you took a big ass leap of faith to go from a cushiony career. Not that it's easy, but it's secure. You mean you are an attorney in the military, unless you probably kill somebody, that like, that's how you're not gonna be there anymore. Other than that, it's like beautiful and secure. And then you took a leap of faith and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna be a podcaster. Nothing against it, because here we are. Tell us a little bit about that transition and what you do now and what got you to do that.
So I actually, when I was still working with you with the Mother Strong League, after I had my second baby, I remember being at a point in my life where I was like, if everything fell off, like I don't have anything for myself. Like I don't have a business. I don't have anything like that. And so I was really into true crime podcasts. And at the time, it was literally just a hobby. I was like, hey, I'm going to put these cases together. I'm going to tell these stories. And for me, it was actually, and it still is, my mission to retell these true crime stories, specifically about the military, but just in an effort to have people realize that you can't trust anyone. You have to remain vigilant regardless of where you are. Just because you're in the military doesn't mean that everybody there is your best friend. So that's why I started it. And so I started it in the fall of 2019, and I didn't leave the military until the spring of 2021. But by that point, I was making money with the podcast. And so I felt more secure, like, hey, I can leave the military. I can continue doing my podcast, stay in the reserve. And I still felt like I had that connection. So yeah, it was a huge leap of faith. And even, till this day, sometimes I still think like, whenever I forget how blessed I am, I realize that when I wake up in the morning, I get to make my own schedule. Like, listen, because I will wake up.
We're going to have to work on that schedule that you decide to do.
We talk about this. But yeah, I realize how blessed I am. And so I think that everybody should have something that they could fall back on if their main source of income or whatever it is not there anymore.
Yeah. And I think that it's cool because there are not many people talking. There is more now because that's something that we talk about. There are not many attorneys who like comment on true crime. So I think that there is that different perspective that you have as well, being able to go through the legal filings and understand the legalese of it all and make the transition for people. And so how was that because I'm sure that the military has a lot of red taping and gatekeeping, and like to have one of their attorneys doing their own podcast. Was there any kind of beef there?
No. So I actually had to get permission before I started the podcast. And so I've always told this story, but I have a really big boss at the time. And I remember having to go into his office and basically say like, I just was like, I felt like I just felt like a little girl. Like, I feel like I always feel like just a little child, but I remember feeling like a little girl going in to ask her dad for permission to start this podcast. And so for me, my podcast is not a conspiracy podcast. It's nothing to make the military look bad. For me, like I said, I used to represent victims of sex assault at court martials, and victims would always tell me, my clients would always tell me, hey, I can't believe this happened to me. Like, that was the sentiment in their brain, was like, how could this person who is supposed to be my brother and sister in arms have done this to me? And so I would always say like, hey, listen, we just always have to be careful wherever we're going. Listen, people commit crimes on people who are careful. Like, they'll just break in. Oh yeah. But my thing was, lock your doors, never trust anyone, always cover your drink, because you don't know who the heck you're with. Like, it could be like your best friend, and then all of a sudden you have one drink of water, and like now you can't remember what happened last night. And I walked into my boss's office and I basically was like, hey, listen, I want to start this podcast, a true crime podcast. It's not a conspiracy. It's nothing against the military, but my mission is to tell people to remain vigilant. I was at the time using stories from the past, not current cases. So when I was still on active duty, I wasn't working on cases that were like in the news. I was just working on cases that had already been opened and shut. And so he basically told me, like, go for it. And so the reason why he said that is because he was a former police officer in the military. And he basically said almost the same thing. He goes, girl, I have files and files and files of, cases that I always thought would be interesting to retell so that other people could be vigilant or whatever it was. And he goes, and he looked at me almost like a daughter. And he was kind of like, and the fact that now 25 years after I had this initial thought, you want to start this podcast, like, go for it.
Oh my God, I got goosebumps. That is so amazing. And I had no idea that you represented victims of sexual assault within the military.
I was actually one of the first. So they were called Special Victims Council back in the day. I think they're called Victims Council now. But I was actually one of the first batch of Special Victims Councils that came out. There was like this huge sex assault scandal that happened in late 2012 into early 2013. And I was one of the first set of Special Victims Council that came out of that. And I was also one of the first that represented children. I was one of the first that represented children. So that was like,
oh my goodness.
Girl,
that sounds horrific.
That's crazy. Yeah. So my kids are with their dad right now for a couple of weeks this summer. And I am on his ass all the time. I'm like, who are my kids with? I don't care. yeah, you have a girlfriend and she has a dad. I do not want my kids around that person by themselves. Like, I have these open conversations because if you're fearful of having these conversations, like I tell him straight up, like, you need to tell them who the hell I am. I was like, because we will have beef.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things where I feel like the more open you are, the less shocking anything is going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that there has been so much red tape around how the law works in general, because now you also have a podcast, another one
Hmm.
that is for more kind of mainstream, not mainstream, but non-military
Hmm.
crimes, which
Hmm.
if you've listened to my podcast or you follow me on social, that is my jam. Right
Yes.
down my alley. I love it. And my husband cannot wrap his head around because I'm like, did you see that Karen Reed did not? Oh my God. And he's like, who is she? Because it's funny because even whenever they were picking juries for these cases, and one of the things is like to not know much about the case. My husband would be that person. I'm
Yes.
like, Brian Koberger, he pled guilty, and he's like, who is this and
Who?
why should I care? But I think it's so powerful to learn about the law because everything is so complicated and there's so much red tape about everything. I think you would be it's probably hard for the military because we talked about it is federal court and there is no TV in federal court. But
Right.
I believe, and again, this is a citizen, not an attorney, I believe that there would be a lot of more transparency encouraged
Hmm.
if things like this, especially inside the military, if you were streamed, televised, open to the public, like all that kind of stuff.
Oh, 100%. Recently, I spoke to a reporter. So, whenever I get cases, if a case just happens, if there is sufficient like news reporting on it, I can tell a story from the news reports, right? The reporters do a pretty good job with writing it. So, I wrote
questionable. Depends on which reporter and depends. Yeah.
That's true. It does depend on the reporter. And then usually what I do is I'll get two different sources
Yeah.
and then I'll see where they marry up because some will have more facts than the other and so like that. And then
Yeah.
with the big cases, you'll have 10 files. The good thing about cases that have happened already is that they're usually an appellate opinion. And so people kind of give me grief sometimes because they're like, that's not what happened. And I'm like, that is what the court said happened. If you look at the court's opinion, there's an entire 8 pages of facts. And so that's what the facts say. And because I am an attorney, and so people fight with me because they're like, well, that's not what happened. Like, well, that's what the court said happened. So regardless of how it is, I'm going to use the court's fact, which listen, they might not be, but that's what I'm going to use.
That's what is in the file.
That's what's in the file. That's what the court said in the opinion, and they are the appellate court. So they're making their decision based on this set of facts. And so it's interesting. So I do podcast differently than a lot of other podcasters because of my background in law. And so whenever I tell a story, it's the same way. And so there have been times actually where I have written something very quickly from just an article that I read. Like I'll do like a TikTok or something. And and I would say within the last probably now it's like almost a year or 2 years, I wrote a case that was actively happening. And also, I don't fill in the blanks about facts, but I like specific facts about the case, but I can fill in blanks about the law and also about like military life. Like when you're moving from one base to another, you move out of your house and you stay in a hotel. And then from your hotel, you move to another hotel. And then you have to go shopping for a house or whatever it is. So I wrote this story and the victim he should have been a murder victim, but he ended up not being murdered because he was smart. And I mean that this was like a poisoning case. So he was smart. He knew what's going on. He actually reached out to me and said, I listened to your podcast on this case. Girl, goosebumps. I was like, oh, because I already feel like I'm going to throw up every single time I write something because I'm like, oh my God, how about if I do something wrong? But he said, I listened to your podcast. He goes, and your reporting on this was the best that I have seen from anything that's been reported. And mind you, I wrote my story from the reporting, but the way that I was able to tell the story where it's not just like words on a page, like it's actual with like feeling, and it's also with
knowledge.
They were moving with the knowledge of the military. And so that really sometimes there have been times, I'm sure that there are times for you that maybe you just want to quit. You're like, forget that, go and eat whatever the hell you want, I quit. Like, that's probably what you say
all the time. All the time.
Me, I'm the same way where I'm just like, you know what, I am never going to record another episode again. Like I am done. But that really, like whenever I get messages like that, it's always very encouraging.
Do you know what we do? Maybe it can be a good thing for you. We have a Slack channel and we have a Success Vault like channel. And whenever somebody writes something that is, oh my God, this has completely changed my life, we take screenshots and we put it all in there because I think that in anything that you do that you're passionate about, you're obviously passionate about your podcast. I'm incredibly passionate about what I do. And sometimes people are like, oh, but you're too harsh. And I'm like, I'm harsh because I want you to succeed. If I didn't give a shit,
Right.
I would just be like, okay, go ahead, eat and get fat and sassy. I don't give a shit. But I do give
Yeah.
a shit. I care. And so it's easy to get distracted by negativity. You can have 99 people that are, oh my goodness, this has completely changed my life. This is the best thing ever. This is amazing. Oh my, I'm so grateful that I found you. Like, I would probably be dead if I weren't here. And then you have that one person that y'all suck. And like, and you're I always go to that because I was like, I don't want people to feel like they're not being supported. So my mind will always go to that person and I'll do everything that I can. But the thing is that sometimes people be peopling and it is what it is. And I
There's
think
only so much you can do.
and whenever you have that success vault, it's good for us to go back and look at all the lives that we're actually changing. So I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe something for you, like create a mural of all the positive messages that you've received for the bad days.
Yes, for the bad days. That's good. And then go back and look at them.
You have never mentioned the name of your podcast, by the way.
Oh, okay. So my military podcast that I've been doing for almost 6 years now is Military Murder. And I have like way over 200 episodes. And then my newest podcast is called The Alternate Inside America's Biggest Trials. And that one is like brand spanking new. It's probably almost 3 months old now. And the interesting thing is we have, I think, about maybe 50 episodes already because we did the daily coverage of Karen Reed and we did weekly coverage of the Sean Combs trial. So yes. And we were going to do Kohberger, but Kohberger pled guilty.
You know what? I was actually thinking about that. I'm glad that the whole Kohberger thing is solved, but selfishly, this is me thinking about myself, full disclosure. I'm like, thank goodness that it didn't go to trial because that would be 3 months off my life.
Girl, it was supposed to start August 16th or 18th, which is like right after my kids start school. And then it was ending the week before Thanksgiving.
I know. And I'm like, Karen Reed already consumed a big chunk of my existence. I cannot do another one of these. I can't.
No. And you know what? There was a lot of beef going on with regards to her family being upset. But personally, I will say, I think that was the best decision that they could have made, that the state could have made. One, because it's done.
Yeah.
We're going to go to sentencing in a couple of weeks and then it's done. There's going to be no appeals. He's never going to get out. Look at Scott Peterson when his whole thing, I mean, you know, he was all set and we thought it was over. And then all of a sudden there's more Scott Peterson. I'm like, oh my God, if I keep hearing about this damn guy.
Yeah.
But for this guy, it was good.
Let me just explain. Brian Kohberger is a guy in Idaho. There was 4 like murders, first degree murder, quadruple murder in Idaho. Somebody just like walked into a house and just stabbed a whole bunch of people. And now he is the guy who did it because he's
convicted.
He's convicted. He pled guilty. So just so you guys know, and Kara Reed is another case out of Boston. She was accused of killing her boyfriend, but there was a whole bunch of like stuff going on in the behind the scenes. She got acquitted. So these are the things we're talking about. Carry on.
Yes, no. And I'm just happy that case is over. I've actually, when I work out, I love, the funny thing is I love working out because like cardio, because then I get to watch something on Netflix or whatever it is. But I was on Peacock and they actually released that series, the Idaho student murders.
Yeah.
And I started watching it today. And when I was watching it, oh my God, I was just like so overwhelmed and so sad the entire time.
Yeah.
And I really was like thankful. I was like, God, thank you that that does not go to court, just because I feel like
so hard.
It would be so hard. And it would, they were going to bring in 10,000 potential jurors.
Yep. Yeah, I heard
10,000.
I was listening to the hearing last night, and I remember the judge even saying that they are going to do the sentencing on that week, that they were going to do the jury, like picking the jury, because they closed the whole courthouse just for that.
Yep.
So
that was an interesting case. And then by the way, I do think my friend asked me, my friends always ask me like, what do you think is going to happen? Because I'm a lawyer. And I'm like, I don't know.
That's me. I'm the friend.
I've never been to Idaho, but like, I have no idea what the Idaho laws are. But the question was like, are they going to unseal? Because remember that there's a gag order and those records have all been sealed.
Oh, they're going to be unsealed because the judge already spoke yesterday. He was like,
yes.
Are you going to unseal it? And then everybody was like, no, not yet. And I was like, ooh, Judge
I know.
Judge Hitler. He is on it.
Oh my God, I love him. So I have not, unlike you, I do not listen to all the trials, only for the cases I'm going to cover. And then even then, I do it more from opening until verdict. But hearing him talk, like he got on the bench, he's like, I need to address something. He goes, all the people calling my goddamn office, all the people calling my office thinking that we're going to change our minds because you called me. Like, I am not going to change my opinion because of the court of public opinion. So I have not listened to your voicemails. I have not read the emails. We sent them to security. So if they're relevant, I will eventually know about it. I was like, damn.
Oh, he has no chill. Like, he has no chill. And
it was cool.
He gives the vibes of appellate judge, like appellate court, because he like legit asks all the questions. He's like, which I don't see very often, like judges ask a lot of.
I wonder if he does have an appellate background.
Yeah.
Or he could come from like the defense world. I feel like defense attorneys and appellate judges ask a lot of questions.
So I think that if I were to be an attorney, I would be one of those two because damn, I ask a lot of questions. I'm like, so what's happening? Anyway. All right, Margot, thank you so much for being here with me today. And I feel like we were everywhere, but I loved all the topics that we covered. This was a bit of a different format of podcast, like more conversational. I came to this episode. I normally have like questions to ask. I had none because I knew that the conversation was going to flow with me, you and I. And I'm excited. Guys, go check out her if you are into true crime, if you are into all this kind of stuff. Go check out Military Murder Podcast.
Yeah, Military Murder. It's just Military Murder. And then the other one's The Alternate.
And then The Alternate. We're going to put the links in the show notes as well. Check her out. Tell her you heard her here. Send her a message. Holler. And whenever she posts videos of her workouts, give a shout out so that keeps her inspired.
Yeah, I love posting that I worked out. I'm like, hey, listen, this is proof.
I have receipts. All right. Thank you so much, Margot. Bye-bye, everybody. I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in this week. But let me ask you, what was your aha moment in today's episode? I would love to know. You can leave me a comment at the link in the show description. You can also follow me on social media, Instagram. Links are down below as well. And let me know what topics you want to hear more about or who I should have on the show. This is it for today, guys. I'll see you back next week for another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast.